Hello, welcome to Zoom, and we are here with your program, Empowering Voices. You know, it's a difficult time right now, and a lot of studios are not taping. However, Rialto is taping, even though we're virtually in your home. We are taping so that you are still empowered with the information that you need so that life can go on in spite of the coronavirus and all the madness that's going on in the world. Today I have on Empowering Voices a fabulous guest. He is a father, a family man, and guess what? He's a teacher. I'm going to ask him what he teaches. And of course, he's our Rialto local city councilman. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Baca Jr., Joe Baca Jr.
Well, thank you, Erlinda. Thank you for doing this and continuing to get the message out while people are at home. I think that's a great thing. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you. Well, you know, we really have to thank Rialto Network, our mayor, and all the staff that is making sure that the city of Rialto is still covered and is well versed on what's going on. Now, we want to know about the school district. You've been a teacher. Now tell me first, why did you go in the direction of teaching?
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and go. It's kind of a long story. When I first started my professional career, I was a correctional officer. So I worked in prisons. I worked in prisons and I wanted to work closer to home. So then I became a probation officer. So I did that for nearly 7 years. I worked with minors and juveniles. And then I got recruited to become a public school teacher. And I figured, look, I can help kids on the front end as opposed to the back end, seeing them behind bars and getting them before they get to that. So I've been teaching now for 15 years, 2 years in the Colton Joint Unified School District, 13 years in the Rialto Unified School District. I've also taught summer school and I taught adult education in Fontana. So, you know, a lot of experience in teaching.
Oh, yes, you do. You have a lot of experience. Now tell me, what ages have you actually taught?
Well, I taught middle school, I taught adult ed, and I currently teach 12th grade seniors right now at Rialto High School. I teach government and economics.
Okay, now you said adult ed. I didn't realize I was going to be talking about grown-ups too. Tell me, what exactly did you teach in adult ed and why do adults need school?
Well, I taught U.S. history. It was at the Fontana Adult Education Center. And I see for a lot of it, it was just some people had some challenges in high school, but it was just a goal they wanted to finish. But I think literacy and education is something we got to continue to promote, you know, just so we understand our surroundings, so we can make better decisions. And I think education really makes all of us better decision makers and open to different ideas and accepting different ideas. I think that's important with education.
Right, right. And it also empowers you in the job areas. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, depending on what your major or what your expertise is, you know. But, you know, a lot of kids ask me, Mr. Baca, why am I having to take this subject? I'm never going to use this in my life. And I says, the ultimate goal of education is to expose you to many things. And then you're going to come up with your own conclusions, which career path or which life you want to take.
I see that. I see that. That is so cool what you tell the kids. You know, they are the future and
Oh,
the future
absolutely.
is here. You know, I always seem to think that our kids, you know, they'll be taking care of us.
No, they will. And I think, you know, for me personally, as a teacher of high school seniors, this is probably one of the hardest years ever with the whole COVID and the type of graduations, people doing virtual graduations, drive-by graduations. It's not what we ultimately want to remember, but, you know, I think we got to continue to be here and support these kids, especially for their social well-being at this
Yes.
time. You know, for us as adults, we can make adjustments easier than kids. Kids are still trying to figure it out. So us as a community have to continue to support these kids and show social and emotional support to all of them.
Mhm. I understand. I understand. Now, do you find that there are groups of children that have special needs? Perhaps, you know, they come from some type of poverty situation, single parent homes? Do they have a harder time in learning? And does the school system provide them a service that can help them embrace and come up to par with some of the other students?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. A lot of kids do have challenges at home. I was very fortunate, personally speaking, both my parents were in the home, but many kids don't always have that situation.
Mhm.
Some students have processing issues. Some people have parents that are working full time, single households. So they sometimes don't get a lot of the support that more affluent families get. But one of the things that a lot of our kids do, I'll give them credit. We got really good kids. They got good hearts. And one of the things one of my students shared with me that I thought was interesting, he goes, Baca, in our community, we don't cause havoc. We're around it all our lives. We're used to not having. So when we're posed with challenges, it's a little easier for us. So we're used to doing without, and our kids are good about sharing. But some of the things that the school districts do offer, they do offer counseling kids.
Good.
Most schools have what they call a wellness center where kids, if they need to vent out or they need to, get things off their mind or share things that they can't tell anyone else. So that's been kind of a nice outlet for many of our kids that have had challenges.
Well, really good. And they also hook them up with possibly groups that can help them. The ones I am concerned about as well is those that don't have the backpack. That's those that need the book, the pencils. Those are underserved kids that um, sometimes are really challenged and are embarrassed and kind of don't want to go forward with school.
Yeah,
Do you,
no, one of the things you bring up a good point, Erlinda, is really keeping the kids' self-esteem high. In the
yes.
old days, I mean, we used to get embarrassed. People would put us on blast, and that was kind of common and we would take it. But I think nowadays, we have to be a little more sensitive to kids and, be more supportive, encouraging. And sometimes we don't know what's going on in their mind. We don't know what's going on
Right.
at home. So
Mhm.
sometimes we have to be sensitive to what's going on at home. They may just be having a bad day. And us as adults, we have bad days too. And we have to
As
be
well.
mindful of that.
Yes, absolutely. Now, do you find perhaps my question is funding? A lot of teachers themselves spend a lot of money out of pocket. I, for one, know one that buys a lot of things before the school year starts and during the school year when it's on sale, so that her kids will have what they need. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that sometimes our teachers have to go in their own pockets. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, years ago, we used to get a $500 budget per teacher
Mhm.
for, at that time, it was, VHS and other equipment we could buy, training materials. Then it went down to 250, and now it's down to zero. So actually what I was doing before we got on this call, I was making my own certificates for some of my students that, had a good academic achievement. And that's, out of pocket ink, out of pocket,
Right.
paper. But, it's what we do, as teachers. You don't
Yes.
do it for the money.
Right. Right. When you figure that ink is $40 or so a cartridge, and that's wonderful that you have that kindness in your heart to do that, and all those teachers that get unrecognized, I applaud them. And I applaud you as well. Now, what is your mission as far as children go? Do you want to empower them somehow? Do you want to work towards funding for the kids? What is it that you really would love to see happen for our future, our kids?
Well, I just think education is in some ways becoming outdated how we do things. One of the discussions I had with a lot of our students is, do we even look at eliminating, half of the senior year? And I know the kids like the senior activities, but a lot of these kids are looking for jobs. I'll give you an example. During this COVID time, a lot of my students are working. They've been working for the last 2 months to help at home. So I think really, job training and getting these kids in position to have careers is probably the most important thing. College isn't for everybody. I went to college. I was very fortunate, and it's not for everybody, and that's okay. You know, making an honest living is good for these kids, and we just have to give them those choices and let them know that they have options out there. You know, we're not a one size fit all for all kids. We all think differently, act differently, we process differently, different needs and different backgrounds, and we just have to accept that and try to, you know, do everything we can to make kids more well-rounded and give them a chance to get a job someday.
Right, and perhaps in high schools have more technical trainings and teachings so that the children, well, the high school students, when they get out, they will have a direction in which to go should they decide at the time, because of finances or whatever the case may be, that they can't right now go to college and they need to earn a living. More technical trainings at this high school level, don't you think?
No, it's interesting you mentioned the finance part of it. You know, I taught economics, and some of the things you and I probably understand, but many of these students don't understand. They don't understand what a FICO score is. They don't understand what W-2 form is, filing taxes, the importance of financial literacy, making financial choices. Those are things I would try to share with my students is, look, don't let people gouge you, fee you to death. Ask questions, you know, try to keep your costs down. You know, those are important things. I think financial literacy and financial decision making is very important for our students.
Very good, very good. You know, I'm very happy to hear the words that you are speaking today in this program. Now, before we close, I'd like to talk a little about the Zoom teaching, or how are we teaching our children? I know school's over or will be over soon. How are we teaching them? How were we teaching them during this coronavirus epidemic?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Right before we went on spring break, we were just teaching normal classrooms. We go on spring break and this whole pandemic really, you know, hits like wildfire. So for us in the Rialto Unified and many, you know, school districts throughout the country, we're trying to figure out what do we do? What do we do? So they talked about closing for 1 week and then 2 weeks. Eventually they shut down the entire year. So what the Rialto Unified School District did is they went to a Google Classroom approach. It's a program where you can communicate with your students, you can send them work. And what the Rialto Unified School District did is they provided a laptop to all the students. I think that was a great thing. So that's the way we communicate
Andy.
with our students, was through the laptop. One of the good things that the Rialto Unified did continue to offer is they did a grab and go. So they still, in other words, they made feeding available for breakfast and lunch for all our students in the district. So those were some of the things that we provided for our students, you know, during the what they call distance learning.
Yes, yes, that's wonderful to hear, because you even took care of their tummies. That's
That's,
wonderful.
well,
That's
not me
really
personally, but the
good.
district.
Now tell me, Joe Baca Jr., please tell me, what would you like to see happen for our youth in the future? What would you like to see that they get empowered with?
One of the things that I talk about, you know, is getting involved in government. So as a government teacher, one of the things I made them do is I made them research our local elected officials. You'd be surprised they had no idea who our mayor was. They had
Wow,
no idea who the assembly members were, council members, our Congress. The only one they really knew was the president. They didn't even know who the governor was.
wow.
So, you know, so I really tried to work on the process of understanding who our elected officials are, who's representing you, and some of the decisions they make. And that's what we have to continue to do, is teach them the power of speaking out. I says, what if you have a problem in your neighborhood? Who are you going to call? Who are you going to complain to? Who's going to listen to you? I says, you got to build relationships with your local elected officials. I says, you know, they're the ones that make the ultimate decisions on some of the local issues. If you have a problem with your neighbor, who do you talk to? You just ignore it, look the other way? I mean, those are just little things, but I think it's important we continue to educate our kids about, you know, being involved, paying attention. It doesn't mean going to political functions or anything, just kind of being aware of your surroundings and your community. And I always used to tell them, I says, what kind of community do you want to raise your family in? Do you want it crime free? Do you want it safe? Do you want good schools? So those are some of the things me personally I would share with the kids. But I think, getting them to learn to respect one another and also respect other people's differences. We can agree to disagree, and that's okay. And I think we need to share that more with our youth.
Wonderful. That is, those people at home, those are words from Joe Baca Jr., who is a teacher, a councilman for the city of Rialto, your town. And it's wonderful to have a person like yourself. Thank you, Mr. Baca Jr., for being such a wonderful, wonderful teacher and councilman for us.
Thank you, Erlinda. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me, and have a great evening, and be safe at home with your family.
Thank you. Thank you. We are home. All right. Thank you very much. Now, before I close, I want to thank you for watching Empowering Voices. This is your television show. It is on Rialto Network program and on Channel 399, and it goes on YouTube. So please remember this. What we do today, right now, will have an accumulated effect on all our tomorrows. So thank you, our special guest, and thank you at home for watching. I'm Erlinda, and until next time, we'll see you later.